This is the Office Manager Diaries, a podcast all about the highs and the lows of professionals in office management around the world. We'll delve into their career journeys and diaries, where they'll share their stories, tips for success, and things only office managers understand. Enjoy, and please remember to give us a follow. Hi everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Office Manager Diaries. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our next guest, Barbara Sharp, PA and Office Manager at Made Brave. Hi Babs, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you getting on?
I am really well, thank you. Thank you so much for being our next guest on the Office Manager Diaries. And for those listening, you may have just picked up there that I've called Barbara Babs, which is what she prefers to be called, and anyone that knows her will know that. So she's Babs from now on, just so you are aware. But yeah, really, really excited to have you on. I know you've listened to some of the previous episodes of the podcast, and you've shared that you're happy to be on as well. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so flattered to be here, especially amongst such amazing guests. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Excellent. So I'll dive on in then. You've been at Made Brave for 3 years now, I believe.
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your role and how long you've been in this world of office management for?
So like you said, I've been at Made Brave for 3 years. I started at the end, or just coming up for 3 years. I started at the end of February in 2020, that awful year. And I started on the Monday. We had an office launch party on the Friday where our CEO, Andrew, made a joke about this thing that was in the news and he would see everyone in a fortnight. 7 days later, we went into full lockdown and I didn't go into the office for nearly 2 years. I was an office manager without an office. I was a bit of a nomad for the beginning of my career at Made Brave, but we made it work. You always make it work. It's the tagline of office management, where I think it is anyway. But going back a bit further, I started my career not really knowing what I wanted to do. In high school, I wanted to do a lot of things. I was very into music. I wanted to do something down that end. I knew I wanted to be in business, just I didn't know what aspect of business I wanted to be in. So my colleagues always joke that I've worked in literally every field that there is out there, because for a number of years I was an office temp. So I worked for a couple of different temp agencies. I sat at 8 a.m, got a phone call and told where to go cover. So I got a baptism of fire in offices. You were getting thrown into lawyers' offices, running receptions. I worked in a housing association as an office admin for 2 days a week for 6 weeks. During rent day, that was my job, was taking people's cash rent for the day. And it wasn't the greatest area of Glasgow. So people were coming in and were having an argument with the housing association. So paying their rent in like pound coins just to be awkward. But I done that for a while, and then while working in a couple of different pubs and a nightclub, so just work. My work ethic's pretty legendary amongst my friend group. I'm never and don't like to sit still for very often. So worked in a couple of different pubs and a nightclub while being a temp during the day, and then thought I'm going to go to college and do this music thing. So I went to college and did music business with event management, of all things, to try and get into the music industry from a business perspective. However, timing was not on my side, because I went to college at the same time that everybody else decided that they wanted to run Tea in the Park and manage bands, and I ended up being part of a slew of people who all wanted to do the same thing. And with the commitments that I had in my life, I had my first flat and all of that. So I was very much like an 18-year-old going, I can't work for nothing. I need to pay my bills. So went back into the world of office admin and temping and all that type of thing. And don't get me wrong, I had an absolute ball. Some of the characters I met were absolutely brilliant. And like I said, it really built that foundation of being one of those people that can just adapt to any situation, because I didn't have a choice. I then shifted my vision a little bit and thought, I think I want to get into HR. So moved and worked for the British Red Cross for nearly 5 years as an HR data processing admin. So all of the paperwork came in and I processed all of the HR paperwork for all of their staff all around the country, all across the UK and Ireland, and then all of their UK nationals that worked abroad as well. So I worked very closely with the HR team with a view to potentially move to within the HR department. I done that for a while, started working in HR and realised I was too empathetic for HR. People were getting brought in for disciplinaries and I was like, oh no, but they didn't read it. So I felt terrible. So my amazing boss, who was the head of HR for the British Red Cross, sat me down one day and was like, look, don't really think you're made for HR, but you're great at being admin. You pick things up really quickly. You can roll with the punches. Go for it. So I, once again, was like, what am I going to do? Went back to temping and then found a position as a wedding planner at an event company. I know, I've done everything. It's insane. So went in as a trainee wedding planner for an event company who are based in Glasgow called 88 Events, who is run by one of the most powerful and intimidating women I've ever met, called Sheila Samuels. And the way the woman commands a room is just a work of art. And done that for about 6 months. And then had my 6-month review with her. And she was like, I don't think you're going to be a great wedding planner, but you'd be a brilliant PA. So why don't you look at that? You're great at office management. You're great at the project management aspect of it. And I've always appreciated that right through my career, the people who I've worked for being that candid. And I like to make sure that I build that relationship with them. So I went from that back to temp work, some more admin, and then landed at FanDuel. So that was a online gambling company that were based in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and I ran their Edinburgh office. That's where I got a real vibe for office management in its purest sense. I was everything in that office. I was office manager, I was office admin, I ran their Glasgow office. And I done everything that needed to be done, right from building their snack station to organising their parties, everything. And that was where I got a real taste. And that was where I got my passion for office management. So I was there for 5 years and I wasn't really looking for anything. Was happy where I was and was happy being the office manager. That was where I got coined Auntie Babs, because I'm too young to be anybody's mother, but I'm the cool aunt that like buys you beer and plans your party. But I'm also the one you can come to if you have any
Auntie
issues.
Babs.
Auntie Babs, because I am too young to be anybody's mother. I'm standing by that. So that was where it got coined Auntie Babs, because if
it's like the cool Aunt Babs. Babs,
yeah.
You're not the mum, you're the cool aunt.
Yeah. So if anybody had any issues, anyone had any problems in their personal life or in their professional life, if they had any questions, it was, oh, go ask Auntie Babs, because she was the one that would be able to help. And I loved that part of my career because it really built who I wanted to be as a PA and office manager. I was a PA there as well for a while for the CTO, the Chief Technical Officer. That was a lot of travel booking and making sure he was where he was meant to be. And then the Made Brave job came up just by chance. I knew the recruiter and he messaged me on LinkedIn and said, hey, I think you'd be really great at this. You've been at FanDuel for nearly 5 years. Do you feel like a bit of a change? And not going to lie, very, very intimidating, because I was going from tech, and I'd known that was my life for 5 years, to a creative agency, which I'd never worked in before. And went in, met Andrew, met my predecessor, Hana, and you have those moments where you just sit and you go, yep, I'm meant to be here. The dogs came in, we have office dogs, they came in during my interview and were all cuddly and snuggly, and I had my first interview. It lasted ages. I talked far too long. I came out, I cried in my car because I thought I'd tanked it. And
no, we've all had moments like that, haven't we?
Yeah.
You genuinely think you have done the worst interview, and then you get the call and they're like, they loved you, and you're like, come again? What?
Yeah. So they were like, I got the phone call from the recruiter and was just like, they were like, yeah, they want you in for a second interview. They want you to do like a technical test. I was like, are you sure? Crying down the M8, because it was literally about 10 minutes after the interview had finished. So I went in for the second interview, expecting to get the technical test and all of that type of thing, and had a bit more time with Andrew, which was great because that's who I'm PA for. And then met Stephen Weir, who's our Chief Operations Officer. and met him. He gave me a wee bit of interview chat with him. And as he was leaving, he kind of nodded at Andrew, and Andrew turned around and said, "Do you want the job?" And I actually went, "Shut up, really?" Because I thought I was just like, just wasn't expecting it. So we got offered the job there and then, and a lot of the team were still in. So I then got introduced to the entire company that night. And I came out to like 50 missed calls from my mum, everyone blowing up my phone, being like, "Have you been kidnapped? Are you okay?" And it just kind of went from there. I handed my notice in. It was a very sad month. When I left, the team were very sad to see me go, but they understood that it was the next step in my career. Started at Made Brave in 2020, and it's just been up from there. It's been great. There's been new challenges. Never thought I'd get to say I was an office manager for 3 offices during a pandemic, but here we are. And yeah, loving every single day.
Absolutely love it. So, I mean, what a journey. I think there's like a common theme here, though, that you potentially realized at the time. And like you say, it's great that you built those relationships with people like the wedding planner and the previous boss who in the HR profession was like, "You're not for HR." And I think that is so good. And I've had some great bosses in my career who have really mentored me and helped me see what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at and that kind of stuff. But there is definitely a common theme, which is you are pivotal and central to the organization of something, be that, like you said, the events and the music planning and that kind of thing, or the wedding organizing, or even in HR, there's still a key element of administration and organization there. And the fact that people say I mean, I think office management is much more than being an administrator. I think that downplays the role somewhat.
100%.
But yeah, and there is clearly a common denominator here, which is that you are a great administrator. And I think you need to be a great administrator in order to be a great office manager. So yes, that's really interesting and so kind of intentional, I suppose, for you.
Yeah, kind of. It was always like, they always felt there was something maybe pulling me in this direction. I've always been quite I'm a very social person. I like being around a lot of people. I'm very much an extrovert. I was a theatre kid when I was younger, which people are not shocked once they get to know me. And I'm a big believer that the office manager is the heart of an office. You are the heartbeat that keeps things going. You're that steady pulse that people can rely on, that they know you're there, and that they know that you're there to support them. When I've new starting, I say I wear a lot of hats, and the only one that you have to remember is that it's my job to make your life easier. You're there as that support system and whatever that you need. I think I'm a real proponent of that. I think I'm a good example of that as well. And it's just something that's always pulled me towards just being that safe space. I'd probably say in the workplace, basically. It's always been, I like to think of office management as that little safe zone and that little haven, even if it's just to grab a cup of tea, just for someone if they're having a bad day and they go, "I just need 5 minutes to decompress." I don't know if there's any Grey's Anatomy fans out there, but I'm a big fan of dancing it out. You have a bad meeting, go into the event space, we go into the kitchen, stick on some tunes. I'm a big fan of Lizzo for dancing it out right now. And you dance it out, you work out all of that energy. I'm the one before we go into client meetings, standing there doing power Wonder Woman stance. I make them all do it. Make them all do it before we go into a client meeting. Before we have the board meeting last week, I was making them do it before the board meeting. Like, you're that person.
Funny. It's so funny, Babs, because I teach this in our office management course, and I get the delegates to stand up and do the superhero pose. So for anyone that doesn't know about this, and I need to remember now the sort of facts, but you basically put your, do it with us if you want to, but you put your hands on your hips. You really need to be standing up. We're sitting down, but we're still doing it. Me and Babs are doing it literally now. And just like, Superman, Superwoman, you kind of push your chest out and, elbows behind you, and you just stand and you just think how awesome you are and just feel like a superhero. And there is, I think it's Harvard or Oxford or somewhere that actually did studies on this, and 120 seconds of the superhero pose per day, it lowers it's one of the things that like increases
It,
testosterone,
yeah,
lowers, is it cortisone or something? I can't remember, but it's
neither can
really
I.
good for you
Yeah,
ultimately. If you want the facts, message me and I'll remember them after this pod. But yeah, so I love the fact that you do something that I actually teach, because there's a lot in common here about, coping mechanisms in some
yeah.
ways, and how to prepare, right? But
Hmm.
also, yeah, that dancing it out thing is, I think office managers bring something when you're good, and most of the office managers I interact with, you can just see in certain elements, and just in a 30-second conversation, they are really good at what they do. And a lot of that comes from within, and that passion, that drive to
Yeah.
support the environment that motivates people, which is you saying, the one thing you need to remember is that I'm here to make your lives easier, right? And that is part of that, the environment you look after, as well as the vibes and the presence you give off by getting them to shake it out in the
Yeah.
kitchen to Lizzo, I think you said, didn't
Yeah,
you?
Lizzo,
You
we
know,
like to do we do a good Lizzo shakeout. You see, you have a meeting. I call them claggy meetings. There's a good Scottish word for you, but it's just, you just leave a meeting feeling like there's just a negative vibe stuck to you, like an ick. And I'm like, no, let's not drag this into the rest of our day. Team, let's go. We dance it out. We have a good shake. You have a good giggle at people's bad dance moves, and it doesn't matter. And that's just, we do it I make them do it quite often. And
do
it's
you have videos of this? Because I would quite like to see it.
I will get some. There's probably
Yes, please.
the ring camera during the pandemic was joked that it was going to end up online somewhere one day, because it's just me dancing past the ring cameras when I'm in on my own, during like waiting for a new start to come in to pick up their laptop, or if we were getting deliveries or anything like that. It's just me dancing past the cameras. So yeah, I'm sure there's videos
All
somewhere.
to see.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I absolutely love your attitude and your passion that is already, just in one or two questions there is already coming through, Bab. So thank you for sharing
Thanks.
this. So we've got some really lovely highs, and I'm feeling all gooey inside because, my passion for these roles is so strong as well. But what would you say right now is the most challenging aspect of your role for you, and why?
So probably the most challenging aspect at the moment, and I think everyone will this will kind of resonate with a lot of office management, and it makes me sound like a total Scrooge, but I don't like budgetary control. But hear me out. Office management budgets are always the first to go. The fun bits are always the first to go. And with every business just now, there's always this talk of, where can we save money? Where can we do this? Now, I went through this in my previous place in Fanjo quite dramatically. We got bought over and my budgets got cut by 70%. And yeah, it was big. They were like, oh, everything's getting restructured. You're getting it all taken away. And I always feel that that's always just a big bit of the office gets taken away. Now, you can build things without spending money on them. Like, I completely understand that, and I do that an awful lot. There's not something that I can't phone and try and blag to get a discount. There's always a contract negotiation in there somewhere. But I think a real low, especially just now, working in the industry that I work in, where we are client led, you spend your time building things up and and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, actually the clients decided that they're not going to build that. They're not going to build that piece, or they're not going to go forward with that project. And you're like, right, okay, well, we have to rework everything. And I think it always seems to take a bit of an ebb away from the office. That's something that really kind of gets me down. Something as well that I'm really not enjoying at the moment is the traffic, because I have to commute to work every day, which sounds really daft. But when you spend your time in an office a lot of the time and there's not a lot of people in there, it can be a little bit demotivating. I'm going to be completely open. We have an office of 50, or we can fit 50 in our office. And then with the hybrid working, if we have days where there's like me and two other people in the office, and you're like, this is a bit rubbish. I don't want to be in the office because there's only a couple of people in, but then that also makes me sad that I don't want to be in my office because I love my office, if that makes sense.
It really does.
Yeah.
I think this is something that so many office managers are struggling with at the moment, and I have got some very strong views on hybrid and remote working, which I know people would disagree with, but it's nice to see that we're all in this together, in the sense of office managers are struggling because the pressure's being put on them, I think, from CEOs and MDs to say, well, how do we get people back? You know, Babs, it's on you to come up with ideas. Let's get people back in. And it's such a huge topic that an office manager on their own cannot, I don't think, you know, do that. It's also down to kind of top down influence. So if the top, you know, levels and line managers and things are following the rules and are coming in, then other people will do that. It's that sheep mentality and that, you know, influencer mentality as well, where those from the top need to lead. But also for the companies who have got like a 2-day at home, 3-day mandatory in policy where people aren't complying with that, which a lot of people aren't, there's no repercussions for them. They're just getting away with it. And other people who do follow those rules are getting annoyed. And there's this whole mix I'm hearing about. So I agree. And I think it is really sad that, you know, there is so much there and there is so much benefit to being there as well. And people aren't doing it.
I'm very lucky that I have a senior management team, and our senior leadership team they say, we would like you, there's no mandatory in Made Brave, we would encourage you to be in Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So we refer to it as let's all be twats together. And our senior management team do come in. They are in all the time. And especially Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have a lot of face-to-face meetings and we do find the benefit of it. But then we have like Fridays, if someone's coming in, if we have a client meeting on a Friday, our office, I'm at home today because I took the executive decision to close our offices on Mondays because nobody was coming in. So I said, look, unless there's a client meeting, I'm not coming in. The office is closed. You can go in if you want, but I'm not going to be there. But we've had some times where client meetings have come in and it's been on a Monday and a Friday. And I think it's some people have a case of the Mondays or a case of the Fridays. We're like, oh, other people will be in. I don't want to get in my bed as early. And then we have a client coming in, or we have a big important meeting, or we have a visitor, and there's like 4 people in the office, and you're trying to show them around. And you're trying to be like, everybody's just in meetings, or they're away out for their lunch, and it's just you're exactly right. It's very demoralizing for kind of the office management, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that will feel the same way. I had a conversation, and it seemed I had this conversation with our senior management team, and I was worried it was going to be awkward, but it actually wasn't. I said, I can't do this all on my own. I can't bring people in on my own, short of bribing them, but we don't want to do that because we're all cost of living crisis. We're trying to make sure that we're saving as much money as possible. And luckily they said, okay, we'll help, and they came in, and they are the ones that are encouraging people to come in. So it's coming from the top down in our place, but I do know that other office managers don't have that support, and my best advice to them would be speak up, speak out. I know that some people don't feel that they can do that, but you're the main reason that your office is amazing as you make it. So speak up and make them listen to you. And I know it might be intimidating, I know it might be scary, but you're such an integral part of that machine in your business. And I think people, especially new office managers starting out, don't realise how important they are to the everyday function of a business. And as office manager, we're in such a privileged position that we can make such a huge impact by just speaking and being ourselves. I'll go off my soapbox now.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing is, you know, it does take a lot of courage, especially when you are younger and you haven't got as much experience and therefore confidence in some ways, because we know experience does naturally boost and bring confidence.
Yeah.
But you don't really have anything to lose, is the point to your advice there.
100%.
Because if you're struggling, you're feeling the pressure, you're feeling like you're getting nowhere, there is nothing to lose by trying to have those conversations and preparing for those in advance. You know, I would top with some of my advice to yours there,
100%.
well.
There's a girl on TikTok who I follow and I share her quite often. She works for another creative agency, and anytime she wants anything off her boss, she makes a PowerPoint presentation, and it's now seen as like a funny skit thing. So she wanted a new mobile phone to do social content, so she did a PowerPoint presentation. But there is a power in a PowerPoint presentation because it shows you've put the work in. So even if it's
there's
just
power in preparing.
yeah, exactly, power in preparing. You have your even if it's 2 slides, even if it's 1 slide, even if it's just something to have up.
Why, the
Yeah,
when, and
it's
exactly.
yeah, and they will appreciate that, and they will they'll respect that from you, because it shows that it's not just a flippant, I'm annoyed and I
I
want
need
more
help,
people to be in
you
the
need to
office.
do this.
You need to do this. It shows that you've put power in. Our CEO is a big proponent of data. So anytime I take anything to him, I don't go until I have data, because that will be the first question that he asks is, okay, cool, bring me the data, bring me the options, bring me the cost options.
There's
So
something very true in there, if you don't mind me jumping in, which
no,
is
it's absolutely
actually another good skill of a great office manager to me, is getting to know not just your business, but the people who run your business and
yes,
how they think and how they operate, so that when you do need to go to them cup in hand saying, I need more money, or I need you to do a top-down approach to this and get the message out, etc., you know the approach to take. Like yours is a data person, and it might be that some people just want feedback and you need to trial it, or they're just a yes but condition based, and there's all sorts of people. So very, very important. This episode's tip is get feedback proactively when you can, and particularly when you're new to office management or in a new role in a different company as the office manager. Whenever I started at a new company as the office operations manager, facilities manager, the different titles, but the same job ultimately, I would ask individuals or groups of people, for example, the assistants or HR or the line managers, what works well here and what doesn't. So I would then know what to improve on and probably act fairly quickly on it, or what to leave well alone because it just didn't need fixing at that time. I'd continue to gather feedback when I'd change things too, even as simply as the stationery supplier, because the products would clearly vary a little, and ensure that we presented as a team an open door policy so that all the staff felt like they could always come to us and let us know their thoughts. Just because we did that, we didn't necessarily always act on the feedback though. I even once did a soap survey after we changed the cleaning provider, because it presented us with a few different soap options and scents and flavours, to see which of the soap options the staff preferred, and literally put a laminated sign in the bathroom, with the pumps labelled pump 1, 2, 3, and they would tick which one they preferred. So they decided what the new flavour or scent of soap it was. And it went down a hit, and people talked about it for ages afterwards. So ensure you're going out there and getting feedback, because it will really expose you in a really good way to the staff, and to show that you're open to change and to feedback and to other people's opinions and thoughts, even if you don't always take them on board. So what drives you and gets you up in the morning? We can see, the passion, and you love being Aunt Babs. What is it that drives you and gets you out of bed?
this is going to sound really cheesy, but seeing my team enjoy the office, seeing my team, and I run 3 offices. So I have an office in Glasgow, which is our head office, which if anyone follows Made Brave on any socials, you'll see it's the cool neon one. That's our main office in Glasgow. We have an office in Edinburgh, out at Leith, and then we have one in King's Cross in Glasgow, in London, which is above the Five Guys, right at King's Cross. So we're in, it's a building called the Lighthouse. The team there are absolutely amazing. But the thing that gets me up in the morning is seeing people enjoying coming to work. Now, that preferably would be in the office, but just seeing them on Teams, seeing them on email, engaging and enjoying their workplace. I once had an interview where I built my entire explanation about why I should get the job. It was about that I love to make people love their Mondays. And I take that into every single thing that I do. Is this going to make my team love their Mondays? It's the biggest hurdle I think a lot of people have. It's the start of the week. There's a bit of a slug. Maybe you've had a heavy weekend. The weather's not that great up in Scotland today. So I was in a meeting with my leadership team and they were like, oh, it's Monday. it's rubbish, the weather's rubbish, didn't want to go to bed. I'm like, no, guys, it's not. Look at the amazing stuff we're getting to do. Let's switch that conversation. Let's make it positive. So I think that really pushes me to find new ways to be better. I'm always researching a new tool. I'm always researching something that we can use to make better. A lot of them don't work. Probably about 90% of the stuff that I suggest doesn't work. But it's just finding that there's always that little one thing. There's always that one thing that could potentially change the way and make things easier and make things better and improve people's day, or improve people's impact, or improve the company's impact, or make your impact, you more impactful. There's always just that little, you never know. There's always reaching for that spark.
Excellent, love it. I know, because we've been connected for a while on LinkedIn, you're pretty active on social media, and I really love that. And anything that office managers are doing to raise their profile raises everybody's profiles in this profession. And I think finally, over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, the profession is seen as a profession, is taken seriously, and people are starting to understand what we do. So you share lots of tips and stories. As I say, you're very active. So can you tell us, maybe one of the recent tips that you've shared, please?
So probably the most recent one that I've actually had the most feedback on, which I didn't think I would, was the one I did last week about how I manage my to-do list. Now, everybody has their own way of managing their to-do list. And I was actually talking through one of the team members what I did, because they see this app that I use called TickTick, and it's on my iPad. I'm all connected up on my Apple, my iPad and my phone, and I've got my Apple Watch, and it's everywhere. It's all over. And they were asking about it and what it was. And I was like, oh, it's TickTick. And it's just a to-do list system that you can use. It's online. It's across all the Apple products. I really, really enjoy it. And I really like it selfishly because it's got a really satisfying ding when you tick something off. It's the main thing that won me over for it. And then they were talking about, oh, my to-do list's a mess and I don't know how to make it better. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to just pop something out and just say how I do it and how I manage it. And I got so much great feedback from people that don't follow me. I picked up a lot of new followers from it. And it was just basically about how I manage my week. So, and how I started, which was the big, exhaustive, I was that person carrying around the A4 pad of paper that was just constantly in just screeds and screeds of paper of just to-dos. And I was like, no, this isn't working for me. And my brain doesn't work that way. It was just becoming too overwhelming. So I was like, right, let's work out what works for me. And I had to pick something that worked across my personal and my professional life. And I found that TickTick was great. And I'm a digital planner nerd. Love doing all the stickers and making it look really aesthetic and pretty. I may or may not spend far too much time on a Sunday night sitting getting my weekly spread on my iPad ready for the week. So I just thought I would share that. And that's what I really like, especially now, as you were saying, the office managers are sharing more about their stories and their tips and the tasks that they do and stuff like that, because I think people don't realize how much that we do. And I think they are very quick to jump off that office managers are jacks of all trades and masters of none. And that's really not the case. We have to be masters of everything that we do. And I like to really share that online, and especially from the perspective of working as an office manager in a creative agency. It's very different to working as an office manager, say, in a bank or a law firm or even a technical industry. We have all very different insights, and I just like to add my little piece and build that amazing tapestry that is office management, so people can see what it's like and give an insight into how amazing these humans are and what we do.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love it. It's very similarly two things there. So one, going backwards, is jack of all, master of some, is what I call it, because there's so much. We can't be a master in everything, in my view, but master of none is definitely not the one. So the other thing that I love and that I completely agree with you on is the tick ping noise. So Microsoft To Do
Yep.
is what I use, which connects directly to tasks and things in Outlook and all sorts of stuff. But that makes a little ping when you tick it off. And I absolutely went for that app because of that very reason.
Yep. It's
So
just so
yeah, I've not had a tick, but
satisfying. See, especially if
yeah.
you have like such a long to-do list. And then if I know I'm going to have a really busy day, I do time blocking with the majority of my time. If I know I have a chunk of, I do all the travel for the company. So if I know I have a chunk of travel, I will book out like an hour in my diary to just batter through it, get it all done. And then I hold all of my to-do ticks, and then I go tick, and it's like ding, 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 ding. You just feel so achieved. It's just that little like,
You save them up like sweets and you eat the good ones.
exactly. And like people in the office laugh because like I'll go through them all and then it'll be like, right, laptop down, I'm going to get a celebratory coffee because I'm like, and everyone hears it. It's like, ding, it's great.
Same thing, like probably, as the crossing off, like I always crossed stuff off on my list and did the line because I got satisfaction, and that's what motivated me and drove me. I knew that I'd finally done some of the longer tasks that were project based, or maybe just under project based in terms of the time that they took, and then the quick wins. And it is satisfying, particularly when you do have such a variety, you do wear so many hats, and no one else really understood, certainly when I was an office manager, what exactly I did. And it was only when the lights went off and the power went down, or someone had an accident, or the toilet was leaking, that they'd be like, oh, that's what you do.
Exactly.
Okay, so can you now share something for us from your diary? So we ask all our guests to share something like a true story, or as we've dubbed it, a you won't believe it, but please.
Okay. So I have a couple of these. Probably my most recent one. At Made Brave, we don't do anything by halves. We love to make a big splash. If we're going to do an event, it's going to be fully themed. It's going to tie through to other things. And I love that. I'm extra. I love a good bit of extra, especially when it comes to a party. So not Christmas there, but the Christmas before. We at Christmas, we always do a Christmas video. So we always pick a silly subject, and we create a Christmas film about it, like a virtual Christmas card. So we've done, we turned the office into a giant snow globe. We have our CEO dressed up in a ghillie suit and pretended to be a Christmas tree and scared people. In 2021, we made a video about the fact that we had hired a giant by accident, basically. And we didn't realize until she showed up to the Christmas party. So you can check it out on our Instagram and LinkedIn and all that kind of thing. So one of our, the shortest member of staff that we had, we turned into a giant. So via green screen and all of that, it was really, really cool. So that was a lot of fun to shoot. To pull that through to the rest of Christmas, essentially, we also got a bunch of props in for our Christmas party. So the day of our Christmas party was a full day event. We were shooting all of our brand new headshots, and we turned the office into winter wonderland. So we built a giant video arcade. We had a hot chocolate machine. The bar was open. We ordered pizza for everyone, and we ordered all these giant props. So to be as if our giant has left stuff behind her after our first day. And one of these things was a giant ice cream cone. So we had a giant shoe, we had a big chair, we had a giant Game Boy. I am 5'6" and it was taller than me. It was huge. The chair, we needed a ladder to climb up to get into. And one of the things was this giant ice cream cone. Because there was a scene where she'd spilt a drink, and it was that she was quite clumsy and all that. So we thought this was quite funny. And it was an exact replica of a smaller version that we had in the office. Of course, this was a surprise for everyone. I was fully dressing it. Nobody knew this was happening. Everything was being brought in at silly o'clock in the morning. Everyone was told not to arrive before 9:30. So I'd been in the office from about 5 a.m. The team had brought in all the arcade machines. That was all set up. All the lights were all set up, and the giant props started to arrive. And the chair came up, no problem. The shoe got stuck in our set of stairs. So we have you come in our office and you go up a flight of stairs because we're on the first floor. The shoe got stuck because we couldn't move it. So there was a delightful pink
I mean,
scrape.
I've had meeting room tables stuck in
Yeah.
stairwells in the past, but never a giant shoe.
Yeah, so this was a giant glittery pink stiletto that you could sit in. We were still finding pink glitter for about 6 months. That got stuck, ended up with a giant pink glittery scraper along the wall, which I had to phone and apologise to our building manager for. I was like, sorry guys, like you've got a big, I mean, at least it's pretty in pink. So we had that, and then there was this giant ice cream cone. Now we got the base of the ice cream cone up, no problem, but we could not get the cone, and the ice cream was all one piece. And we couldn't get it up the stairs. No matter what we done, we couldn't get it up the stairs. So we finally managed to get it up over the balcony and onto our floor, and then realized we couldn't get it through the door. So we were like, right, do we dismantle? I'm Googling at 5:30 in the morning how to dismantle fire doors, because we were trying to get the fire door off the wall. I was like texting the building manager and was like, don't be mad, but I might be taking the fire door apart. I'll phone a joiner and we'll get it fixed, I promise. Now, at this point, our building manager at the time was not shocked with anything that we were doing anymore. He'd been with the company he'd been in the building for a while, so he was used to us. But he said that was a new one. So we couldn't do anything. We're like, right, we can't take apart the fire door, it's a health and safety risk, so let's get it back outside and we'll just ditch the ice cream cone. So at that, the guy driving the van was like, could we get it in the window? I was like, no, we're not, we're on the first floor, we are not getting this ice cream in the window, it's not happening. It's 5:45 in the morning, I've had more caffeine than I should have in a week, it's not happening. So they were like, nope, we're going to try it. Now we have these giant windows at Made Brave, they're huge. So then tape measures were out, hoists were created and anchored by like delivery men. There was like the little event manager who was tiny, was like pulling this ice cream cone through the window at like 5:45 in the morning. We've got it on video of this ice cream getting yanked up the building, scraping all of the building on the way up.
This is probably better than your actual video of the giant, like the actual green screen.
So we managed to get it up and through, and that was all fine. And we got it in, and we were like, how are we going to get it out? Because we don't, like, we've got no idea, because it was a different team that were coming to get it later on that night, and they had to be out, like the ice cream cone was being used the next day, so it had to leave that night. So yeah, it arrived and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you got that through the door. And we're like, through the door, through the window. And our office is across the road from the Glasgow CCTV company, like the people that manage all the CCTV for the council and all that kind of thing. And as we were getting the ice cream cone back out of the window later on, the police arrived. And we're like, hi guys, what's happening? And I was like, we're just getting an ice cream cone. I'm leaning out the window, fully dressed from our work night out, like hair blown out, sparkly dress, big high heels, leaning out of another window, talking to these policemen, being like, it's fine, like, we're just leaving. So it was just, chaos, but in the best way, because the surprise on people's faces was just, chef kiss. It was just so good. But that was probably, it made it definitely worth it. Yeah, the complete chaos.
I love it.
Yeah, that was just, and then probably another one from my previous place, a senior member of staff who shall remain nameless was interviewing someone on the one day, and then they were coming in, the interviews at Fanjo were super, super long, and they were coming in the next day for the second half of their interview because they had childcare commitments, so couldn't do it all in the one go. This manager then decided it was appropriate to go out on a night out and not go home that night. So came in the next day wearing exactly the same outfit as the night before, which was a very distinctive shirt. And I was like, you have an interview in 15 minutes. He was so hungover, and he was like, I was like, you're wearing the same outfit. So then I'm having to go round. We worked across the road from H&M. I'm in H&M on the phone to him going, what are your sizes? Because I need to get you a shirt. You need to sober up. Go for the shower. We'd showers in the office. I was like, go for the shower. I'm going to buy you a new shirt. And just like, we had to like put them together to put him in. He's like, oh, it'll be fine. It's just other interviews. I was like, no, it's the same. It's the continuation of the person you met last night. And he had no idea. He was just like, oh, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, it's
things
not.
We do. Just
tell me about it. Tell me about it. It's never. never thought I'd see the day where I'd be in like on the phone, like, what size are you? Like, I need to know. He's like, I'm going for a shower, I'll phone you back. I was like, no, you need to tell me.
You need to look appropriate, and you
Yes,
absolutely don't right now. So I'm going to
yes.
sort this out for you.
You need to
It's
wear a different shirt
behind the
from the day
scenes.
before.
It's all those behind the scenes things though, right? Like with the props from this giant set, and
Yeah,
you know, there's stuff like that that we just step up and we just get done. And I love those stories.
yeah.
So now tell me, what would you say, bar getting a giant ice cream cone through a window, are your biggest achievements and perhaps some of your wins and successes, Babs?
I think my biggest achievement to date was managing my office without an office during the pandemic. Through the first 2 years of my time at Made Brave, I moved 2 offices. So we moved our Edinburgh office, we completely shut down one, we moved that all into storage, then I moved that back out into a different office. We did the same with London. We opened an office and then we moved an entire office. I onboarded nearly 30 members of staff, all remotely. So that was a lot of like getting to know the DPD man because he was coming to pick up stuff at my house. We threw very safe parties for everyone. We did an away weekend where we all went out. We did outward bound training. So I organized all that. We just made sure that everything was all kind of keeping running, and we grew our business by 50% through the course of a pandemic, which is we're very lucky to do. And then on top of all of that, we completely switched from G Suite to Microsoft Teams. So I headed up all of that, which was not stressful at all because I hadn't used Outlook since 10 years before. I'd been G Suite loyal for many, many, many years. And all of a sudden I got thrown into, oh, we're doing this switch, which was meant to be managed by another member of staff who promptly handed his notice in once it had been signed off. So no, just
project and ran.
Yeah. So no, asked for the project, provided the data, got it signed off, and then handed his notice in. And they were like, "Oh, Barbara will do it." I'm like, great. But yeah, I'd probably say just shifting the sheer amount of work that had to be done during the pandemic is probably my biggest achievement. Looking back, myself 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, would never have thought that was achievable. Like, towards the end of my career at Fanjo, I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. I was happy in my space. I wasn't ever feeling like I would move. I was very comfortable. Moving to Made Brave made me very uncomfortable. It was a whole new game. It was a whole new business I had to learn. It was the first time working with true entrepreneurs, in Andrew and Stephen. And I basically had to learn everything again. And I think that's probably my biggest achievement is getting to the place I am today. And it being pretty much successful for 95% of the stuff that I've done. Obviously, there's been some hiccups and things go wrong, but it wouldn't be
Human.
it wouldn't be office management if things didn't go wrong.
No, absolutely wouldn't.
Yeah.
So controversial question then: G Suite or MS365?
Oh, okay. So if you had asked me 18 months ago, G Suite till the end of time. However, and this is on record, and I have said this on record as well, Microsoft 365 these days, they are bringing out some big guns. Like, I'm really enjoying the integration. See now that we've actually got a handle on it and that we actually understand and we've built the processes in place, and it is all still like a living beast. We're still building new processes and all that kind of thing. Never thought I'd say it. There will be people who I work with screaming at me on Spotify right now because they'll be like, no, we're going back. We're not going back, guys. It's really, really good. And
that's it, Made Brave. You're done.
Yeah, we're done. We're sticking. We work with an amazing IT company as well who actually they live upstairs from us in Glasgow. And they've been fantastic as well. But never thought I would say it.
Yeah. Okay, good. So what about some tough moments now? What have been lows for you in your office management career?
So a big low for me personally has been, I have experienced, and we don't talk about this enough in our industry, I don't think, I've experienced burnout in a big way. Now, there was a lot of other circumstances going on. I was working with a manager who wasn't the best. There was a lot of conflict that wasn't addressed by the company, despite it being raised by more than one member of staff. And I just worked myself into the ground and really experienced burnout in a big way. I was off work for several months dealing with that. And to this day, I still probably deal with, I read an article about how if your body experiences true mental burnout, it can take you up to 5 years to properly recover from it. And I believe that. Like I still experience some situations where I want to get into old habits, and it's taken a lot of work for me to make sure that I don't go into those habits and don't have those reactions that I previously had. But I think that was probably the biggest low for me, and it made me question my entire career. It made me really question what I wanted to do, and I don't think it's spoken about enough in the office management and PA as well space of burnout. I know I'm a big believer in that you're there for other people, but you also have to ask for help, and other people need to be there for you as well. And you need to know that you're one person, and that you and yourself and your being and your soul is just so important, because you can't do all the amazing things that you want to achieve if that's not sitting right. There's a saying about you can't fill from an empty cup, and it's very, very, very true. And yeah, that's probably the biggest low for me. I'm very lucky now that I'm in an environment where if I am feeling that way, I can speak to my bosses, I can speak to my HR people and culture team. Claire and Erin are absolutely amazing. But I can you can ask for help. We are a very good, we've built an environment where we can talk about that. Our CEO himself talks about it. But I do think it's not something that's discussed enough in the office management space. And that makes me kind of sad. Because
absolutely. And I think the recognition of because I've had burnout as well, when I was working for one of the big American investment banks, and I was really unwell. And this is going back 15 years when mental health was absolutely not on anybody's radar.
yeah.
And if you don't deal with it, what physically happens for me is it will come out in other ways. So there's this thing about fight or flight, right? So when you're under pressure, adrenaline increases in your body, and it starves other organs in your body of the oxygen and the blood flow, whilst it pushes adrenaline to your hands and your legs and your head and your brain and things. But if you have that over a sustained period of time, because you're not dealing with the pressures and the stresses, and or they're there and you've just got to fight and constantly fight, it basically adds toxins to these organs. So for me, it affected my bladder and my stomach. And so whenever I have a weakened tummy or bladder, I sit back and think, am I stressed? And then I go through the motions of what's triggering this, and try and unwind it from there before it gets to a point where it is burnout. But it is really hard. And I wasn't in an office management role back then. I had over 1,000 staff to support, and there was just 2 of us, and she had about 1,000 as well. So we had 2,000 staff between us. And it was huge. And it was the first time I was about 25, 26, and I was stressed. I was signed off with stress. So absolutely agree.
And there's the thing as well, and it's the office management guilt. You never take a sick day. You never, if you're not feeling great, I not in Made Brave, like I had at a previous workplace, was at a funeral and was still like, if you need me, I'm on my phone. And they were like, going to a family funeral. No, nobody's going to.
I always did that. I'd leave ill. It'd be like 2-3 o'clock, and I'd be like, right, I have to go home now. And I'd say, but I'll be online.
I'll be on my phone.
I'd be on my BlackBerry. Yeah.
It's very akin to it's the office management guilt. It's the PA guilt, where you're like, oh, but somebody might need me. If you're sick, your body needs you. Your body needs to recover. I have a chronic pain condition because I have a spinal injury. And that's how my body flares up. is that I get really, really painful and I get really stiff and sore, and that's how I know. And it's taken me a long time to realize that was my trigger for knowing, okay, maybe I need to just like take a step back, and maybe I just need to like work this out and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I just don't think it's spoken about. It's not spoken about enough, and it's probably the biggest low I've had in my career was letting myself get into that point, and not asking for help, and then realizing in retrospect how early I should have, and how I mean, retrospect's 2020, as they say, but it's definitely something that needs to be spoken about more, and people need to realize the signs more, because it can be so damaging.
And you said that you almost sort of part the career off the back of that, and I think I felt the same. Resentment built up an awful lot for me. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was like, I don't want to do that. Why am I doing this? Like, it's just, I'm never going to get it. It's all these thoughts, these intruding thoughts of, oh well, I'm not good enough, and I'm feeling this way because I can't handle it, so I'm just gonna throw it all. Well, it's obviously not for me. I'm just gonna throw it all away. And you don't listen to the people that are encouraging you and that want to help. But yeah, no, it was I wanted to get rid of my entire career. I just wanted to be like, right, I'll just go to something else. I'll go retrain as something else, or I'll go work in a bar again.
How did you come back from that thought and that feeling? What got you back into it and happy and again? And how do you manage that now?
A lot of therapy. Don't ever discount or underestimate the power of finding a good therapist. I adore mine. Her name is Michelle. She's fabulous. Hello, Michelle. She'll probably listen to this and I'll have lots of notes for me. But also just realizing my limits. I had to learn to set boundaries. I am there for everyone. I am here if you ever need anything, but also I need people to understand that I still have boundaries, and that if I don't answer my phone, don't phone me back again straight away unless like the building's on fire. Like, there's obviously situations, but I will make myself available at the weekend if there's something going on. If I know about it, I will make myself available the weekend. I will make myself available after hours, but it's setting those healthy boundaries and not bringing your work home with you. That's really, really helped me. My partner runs a bar. If I pick him up from work, we have there's about 35 minutes between his door and the home door. And we have that first half of the journey, he rants about his work. Second half of the journey, I rant about my work. And then as soon as we get in the door, that's it. We don't talk about it anymore. And it's setting those healthy boundaries for yourself. And I found that was a real help for me. I journal a lot as well, because I found that really helped me. Just getting it out onto a bit of paper. I write myself a lot of voice notes. So like my notes app is filled with voice notes of me just getting it out and getting it onto paper, or getting it somewhere so I can look back at it. I can listen back at it. I also had to learn a bit of humility to ask for help when I needed it, because I was in my mid-20s as well, and was like, I can do it all. I can do this. I can do that. I don't need any help. Yeah. And it was a real realization moment for me. And probably I grew a lot over those 6 months, where I had to address a lot of my own stuff and my own ego. I had to get checked quite a lot. But it really helped.
Yeah. And it's that thing of, there is no shame in asking for help. Like, we're the people that come to you constantly for help and support in many different ways, emotionally, physically. But yeah, there is a point when you have to recognize it again, and coming back to those signs and understanding you and your body a little bit is quite helpful in that, I think. But yeah, if you don't speak, no one knows, no one is aware, and therefore no one can help you. Okay, so let's go on to the future for you. What is in store for you, Babs? What are your ambitions from here?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I would love to continue on with my I'm going to continue on my career at Made Brave. I have no idea where that's going to take me. I want to stay within the field of office management and PA work. I love it. It would be great to have more offices to manage, which would be great. I'd love to have Made Brave Global, even though we are a global agency, but actually have global offices would be really, really cool. I've always set myself a goal to open an office in another country. So open an office in Europe, over in the States. That's always something that I've wanted to be able to achieve. Seems a bit bizarre to people, but I just like to know how it works. And it would just be something that would be like a crowning moment where I'd take a step back once people are in and go, I built this. I did this. In terms of personal growth, just building more on the skills that I have and building more on my just being a better version of myself. Like, I'm really happy with the trajectory my career's taking at the moment. It seems to be taking a very natural incline. I'm learning so much more about the business. I was speaking to my boss this morning and he was asking about me coming here and all of that, and he was saying that it's very interesting because it's kind of like it's like a boot camp of Entrepreneur 101 being an office manager, because you get to learn all about the business and you get to learn about all the different aspects of the business, and it gives you a real insight. And he's like, it'd be great if you want to start a business. I said, nope, because I've seen how I've seen it. I'm good. I'll still just manage the office. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what happens more than anything. I'm really just excited to see where the universe takes me. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I have really enjoyed our chat today, Babs. Thank you so much for giving up some of your time, because time is precious in these roles, as we all know, and I really am grateful.
No, thank you so much for having me. I've had a ball. It's been great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by the Office Management Portal, our free online membership platform aimed at connecting, supporting and empowering office managers in a simple-to-use, all-in-one self-service resource. You can sign up right now at www.theofficemanagementportal.com and click the sign up button in the top right. If you want to upgrade your account to our premium membership at any time for unlimited downloadable templates and monthly expert masterclasses, use the code THEOMD for 25% off. That's the THEOMD for Office Manager Diaries for 25% off. Thank you for listening.